Howdy remarketing fans and welcome back. One of the most effective, powerful, and smart ways of developing your remarketing audiences is to simply take a look at your website. Take a look at your homepage. Take a look at your company's information architecture, the subpages, the menu structure. If a website was done properly, if it was designed right, that information, the way the information is structured, the way the content is displayed for the visitors is going to help move that visitor from the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel. It's going to help take that visitor from entering the homepage to converting, and whatever that conversion goal may be. So looking at your website, navigating through your website is a very, very powerful way to start developing and coming up with remarketing ideas and then assigning value to those remarketing lists, deciding what you're going to bid and what ad copy you're going to show. So what I wanted to do now, and I think it'll be really helpful, is take you through an example of one of our clients, how I would go in and start messing around with the website, taking a look around, just talking out loud and figuring out what my remarketing audiences should be. Of course, it starts off with determining what the top of the funnel is, what the bottom of the funnel is, and what those stages are in the middle. The client we're going to use, it's a client of ours, and the company's name is AudioEye. They're a publicly traded company doing quite a bit of revenue, doing quite a bit of advertising, and they help other companies, other websites, make their websites government compliant for handicapped people. So it's tools for accessibility. For example, they have the Ally toolbar, which will read the content of a website to you easy. It's easy. They make it easy to change, to increase or reduce the text size. They have a bunch of different accessibility tools, and they target governments, they target businesses, they target individual consumers, and they offer different solutions to different types of people. So I thought that would be an interesting use case, and I also thought choosing something non-e-commerce would make a lot of you guys happy, because a lot of you guys are trying to advertise a business that's not necessarily e-commerce. So let's take a look. Once again, I know this company, and we've developed remarketing campaigns for this company, so I'm going to do my best to walk you through it and just talking out loud as if this is the first time that I looked at this company. Always have your handy textbook, notebook, word processor. You need to be writing this stuff down, writing down your ideas, and just starting to draft what your remarketing audiences are going to be. And then once you have that basic structure of who your remarketing lists are, what your remarketing lists are, and who will be contained in them, then you can go out and start planning those actual audiences and assigning different values and what you're going to say in the ads and how much you're going to bid, what your frequency caps might be, what your conversion windows might be, so on and so forth. So let's dive right in. Coming to the homepage of AudioEye, we see their headline: access is power, accessibility is smart, accessibility for screen reader users. They have a call to action to take a look at the toolbar. And then there's a lot of information. There's a bunch of basic higher reaching calls to action, testimonials, and how AudioEye can help you. And here's a really interesting section, because right away, this is the first thing that I would think of is government, education, enterprise. They want to get the user into their buyer persona. They want to get the user into the next step of the funnel. And they want the user to identify who they are. Am I government? Am I looking for an education solution, or am I looking for an enterprise solution? So that's very interesting. Then they have a newsletter sign up. Okay, back to the top. I want to take a look at their menu options. Accessibility. This is most likely going to be more information about accessibility in the industry, what the AudioEye solutions could be. Back to the homepage. Technology, I'm sure, is just the technology behind the AudioEye solutions. That might be something that people towards that middle of the funnel, the awareness stage, might be interested in. And then you have another breakdown for people, for business, for developers, and then you have company, which is probably about us with a contact form. And those are my basic guesses. I like to not go to these pages when I'm coming up with these ideas. I want to try to predict what the information on those pages contain. So right away, we're going to develop our first remarketing list, and that's going to just start with our higher level all visitors remarketing audience. We might not use this audience as an actual remarketing campaign, but we're going to start pulling and breaking everything down from our all visitors audience. From all visitors, I'm going to want to have a separate section for just homepage visitors. Homepage visitors indicate to me that they might have had a certain amount of interest. They didn't go any further into the site. They haven't yet self-identified, and it might not be that much. It might not be so worth my while. It might not be so profitable to start remarketing and spending a lot of money on remarketing campaigns to people who just visited the homepage. So that's going to be a separate list of mine. Moving down, in another case scenario where the company or your company might not start targeting other higher order categories, but I thought this would be an interesting example to take a look and start building out remarketing audiences for this specific potential groups, like for people, for business, for developers, for government, for education, and we'll pick a few of those and go through them. Now, like I had said in the beginning, it's really important to identify your funnel. For AudioEye, the top of the funnel is a homepage visitor, right? It's a landing page visitor. It's a visitor to the website. That's the top of the funnel. Awareness, interest, decision-making, moving down the funnel, these are people who start looking at these internal pages, self-identifying, finding out more niche-specific information. The conversion action for AudioEye is going to be a contact form. Somebody's going to submit a contact form. They're going to ask for a sales representative to reach back out to them. And that's going to be that bottom of the funnel. And that'll be the very bottom of our marketing list. That will be that will typically have the fewest amount of cookies on it, unless you get too crazy with those combinations like we spoke about in the previous section. But we have our all visitors. Now let's pick 3 categories that we want to take and break this down to. I'm going to choose to break visitors down to people, break it down to let's say business, and we'll break it down to education. Let's take a look at the first one. So I'm going to go to the For People page, and we're going to make a note of this URL, and you can always come back to grab these URLs later. This, as I scroll down, I see they have the information about the help desk, they have the information about the AudioEye reader, different benefits. It's a very content-heavy layout. It's a one-page scroll for this specific category for this section of the website. What I think makes sense is to start segmenting out people who identify as people looking for individual website owner solutions. Like this would be me. If I wanted to make adventureppc.com more user-friendly, accessible to the handicap, I would be in this section. Now for AudioEye, that represents, and this is something that you would know for your business, this represents a certain level of revenue. This represents certain types of features and benefits that will appeal to a website owner. For a government, I might be primarily considered with government compliance, with rules and regulations. As a website owner, I might be more interested in page load speed. I might be more interested in cost, right? So there's different features and benefits that will appeal to different populations. So this is why we need to have these remarketing audiences separated so we could bid appropriately and we could send the right message in the ad copy. Now, I think it makes sense to break down the people campaign even further by coming up with that engagement combination. Remember, we spoke about those engagement combinations. So what would that be for, let's say, a typical use case over here? So I would break down people further, and I would say you might have anybody who viewed these people homepage, this homepage, but I would also do something like, okay, that's probably how I would break it down for the people campaign. So already we have, if we take a look, we have our all visitors campaign. We have just homepage visitors is number 2. We have anybody who entered in from the homepage to the people section. And then we have this engagement audience, number 4, which is people who have viewed the people page view. They spent 2 minutes on that page, and they scroll down 75% of the page. They show that they were more engaged. That'll be my next remarketing audience under that people category. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm wearing this creepy fingerless glove just on my right hand, it's because it helps write on the iPad with this new stylus. And when you don't have the glove on, your palm rests on the screen and it makes it absolutely impossible to do anything. So that's why, just don't get creeped out by that. I'm perfectly normal, I promise. Fine, so we have people, and this could get a little bit more, we could even break this out further. We could say, okay, if somebody goes from people into the ally toolbar, we might, and that might be another potential audience. So let's just make up an example. This happens to be the case. The ally toolbar could really apply to all different categories. The ally toolbar could be something that is offered to business, education, and individual website owners. So for the ally toolbar, I might be inclined to create another remarketing campaign for Ally Toolbar visitors. Okay, and if we look around the information architecture for the Ally Toolbar, we have this initial page, and we have the download the AudioEye Solutions overview. So we might have another remarketing campaign. We might break this down to users who, let's say, downloaded the resource. We have a resource download. We might go back up to the top over here and say how it works. So somebody who's actually looking to figure out the actual structure of implementing the Ally Toolbar might be another one. So we'll see, this is a pretty long page. We'll do the how it works page. And then we might have even a third one, and this is just an example. This is something that I actually did for this account. We'll call it Ally Toolbar page plus 3 greater than 3 visits. So they're returning visitors. It's at least their third time on the site, and we have a separate campaign for them. We now have 5, 6, 7, 8 potential remarketing lists that we want to create for AudioEye. Now let's go into the for business section. Once again, we're not going to go, I don't think it's necessary or that relevant to go so deep into breaking down the different characteristics of AudioEye's business people versus their individual consumers. But the main thing is that the potential business customers are going to be potential higher revenue clients for AudioEye. And in order to remarket to them effectively, we need to understand which potential business visitors were people who were likely to interact with us. We don't want to spend, once again, also the business people, oftentimes for this company, it might be different for you, are either they're into it or they're not into it. The people who are not into it might not be worth remarketing to. The people who are into it need to be really nudged or reminded of AudioEye's, really excellent technology, because there's a lot of competition, and these business people might be vetting proposals from the competition. So, for the business section, we might break it down and say, instead of just, 2 minutes on site plus a 75% paid scroll, we might automatically qualify business by having at least 2 visits, right? At least 2 visits. As we're looking here, what else would potentially determine engagement? You have the Get the AudioEye Solutions overview. That could be another one. I would have for sure recommended time on site. I would do for business people plus 5 minutes TOS. Remember, time on site. And I would want that business customer to have potentially checked out the customer success stories. And they also navigated to the case studies page, let's say. So now we're building up this audience really nicely, these different lists. So we have our 9th audience, which is over here. Once again, high engagement. So both of these here are HE for high engagement. And down here as well are high engagement audiences. Once again, the same idea for education. We could go back to the home page, and we can go navigate to their education section, learn more about education. Be the change you want to see in the world, quote, equal opportunity for all. And education is tricky because what happens, what's typically these potential education customers are usually not the decision makers that are vetting this process out. These are people lower in the bureaucratic food chain, if you will, and they're going to ultimately have to bring this to their boss. Some of these resource educational links will be very powerful indicators whether or not this was something useful or a potential solution for that educational that institute. So if somebody clicks on learn more about the AudioEye certification, that will be a very powerful education audience. So we'll break this down. We'll break education down. Link click. That's going to be the first time for that. So a link click on any resource, let's say. And let's say the person viewed greater than 4 page views. Now remember, page views is different than time on site, or number of visits. What I want to know is that this education persona, this potential client for education, viewed at least 4 page views on this visit while he was assessing AudioEye as a potential solution. So over here we have our 10th, let's say, high engagement audience. And what I'm going to also do is I'll create, and this is out of order, but anybody to the business section will be 11, and anybody to the education section will be 12. Once again, we ideally will not want to use these more higher order lists. So these might be lists, and we're going to talk about exclusion lists, which is a really powerful way to combine remarketing lists. So having this sketchpad and having the actual website handy, as you're seeing, it's a really powerful drawing board. It's a really powerful brainstorming tool to start developing these lists. Granted, these might get refined, and they probably will get refined once we speak to the client, once we take a look at the analytics data, once we start going back and forth and getting a bit of a better handle on who these website visitors are and what their conversion paths tend to be historically. We might refine these lists, but taking a look at a good website, how the structure is laid out, starting at the homepage, determining, okay, what is the top of the funnel action? It's a page view, it's a homepage view. What is the middle of the funnel action? Showing interest in one of these sections. Am I education? Am I business? Am I personal? Am I enterprise level? How do I identify myself? What solution am I looking for? Based on that, we want to have those additional remarketing audiences that will start breaking down these potential remarketing lists further and further. Once we have a basic sense of that engagement awareness, we could start seeing we could start predicting who is more likely to ultimately convert and, enter in that contact us form. We will probably also want to create a separate remarketing list. If we go to the contact us page, company, contact us over here, scroll down past the map, and here's the contact form. We're going to want to have another list. Let me just mark that down as number 13 down here. Perfect, just enough space left. People who converted. Okay, now you might be wondering at this point, say, hey, this looks like some sophisticated stuff. Submitting a contact form, how do I track that? People who came 2 times, 5 minutes on the site, 75% scroll depth, external link clicks from a certain page. Man, oh man, you might be thinking that's not for me, but rest assured, everything that we did here, everything on this pad, everything that we've written down, you are going to learn how to do. It's going to be easy. I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to show you exactly step by step how to implement it in your accounts. So I hope you're starting to get now a sense of this planning stage, right? You have an understanding of characteristics, audiences, pulling those segments out, combining those segments, the idea of having enough cookies to remarket to the right people, sending the right messages. Now we're really going into your business. We did an e-commerce example, a non-e-commerce example, just looking at your homepage, looking at your menu structure, looking at the contact us page. How do people just think? How would you go from just being aware of this company to converting? And what pages and what engagement characteristics would you just typically display that would show the analytics provider, i.e. the advertiser, i.e. the owner of the website, that you're somebody that they should remarket to? So just, think about it. Use your own intuition. Go look at the website, open up the menus, open up the submenus, and start writing down the same way we did over here, what would be potentially good, profitable, and predictive remarketing lists. In the next section, we're going to go into our value mapping, is what I like to call it, for our remarketing lists. We came up with our remarketing lists. Now we want to figure out where these remarketing lists fit into our overall campaigns, the budget we want to allocate to them, the appropriate bids, the ad copy, the messaging, and the ultimate goal of that remarketing list. So thank you very much for watching this one. I hope you liked it. It's an exciting one for me. I love this stuff, and very much looking forward to seeing you in a few minutes on the other side.